Hello, my Aloha tribe, and welcome to the Aloha Perspective. Happy Thursday. It is Friday Eve, right? Friday Junior, Friday Eve, whatever you want to call it. We are on self-love lesson number 18 of 30. Oh, we're slowly inching our way towards the end. I'm assuming we should be done by late October, perhaps. However, today we're just on lesson number 18. I have the Affirmators card for today, and it is maturity. Something I lack desperately. I make peace with the tough relationships of my past. I probably would have skipped the pain they came with, but I'm grateful for the lessons they brought me. Because of those tough relationships, I can look back at the mosaic of my life and see value in even the most broken pieces. Wow, I like that one. That one really kind of hits home. I feel like this is a validation card. So again, I make peace with the tough relationships of my past. I probably would have skipped the pain they came with, but I'm grateful for the lessons they brought me. Because of those tough relationships, I can look back at the mosaic of my life and see value in even the most broken pieces. I like that card because a lot of times we try to run from our pain. We try to run from the healing. If we feel a trigger coming up, we try to run from that. And I know the card says maturity, but it really should say bravery and courage, because it takes a lot to stop yourself in your tracks and say, you know what, enough. Enough is enough. Sorry, my mic is all crazy. Enough is enough. And to face those triggers and to face those, that healing that you feel that needs to be done. So if you are running and running and running, don't shame yourself, because eventually you're going to get tired of running and you are going to stop and you are going to face whatever it is hurting you, whatever it is that keeps trying to drag you down into the abyss and the darkness. And it does take courage. It takes a lot of courage, because as anybody who's been through any kind of trauma would know, when you're trying to heal your pain and you're trying to heal these past events or even broken relationships or whatever it is, it can be very painful, but it's also worth it in the end. Think of it as like a big rainstorm, right? I mean, maybe you feel like you're stuck indoors. Maybe you're not the kind of person like me who likes to go outside and stand in the rain, jump through puddles. But you might think, oh, it's gloomy outside. But then think about it. After the rain is gone and everything is clear again, the skies are clear, everything looks fresh and beautiful, smells clean. Kind of like, I don't know, jumping into mud and then washing it all off of you, right? So it's your choice when you decide. And you can't really force yourself into it. You can try, and maybe that's what you'll need to kind of have that be the catalyst of what it is that you're going through. But just remember, one of the things I have learned on my own journey and in processing all the crap that comes along with it is there are going to be times when you need to take a break, and it's going to feel like you're taking a step backwards. You are not. Okay. And I think a lot of people struggle on their journeys because when they do stop and take a break, they think, oh God, I just took a step backwards. And then they shame themselves. And then it's like this whole new cycle starts up with like a little branch another little tiny, leaf that pops out that you have to heal, right? Don't shame yourself. Your brain and your heart and your soul are going to work at your pace. They're going to follow your lead. And you get to be the leader of all these things that you are trying to heal. Your mindset, your, opening your heart, trusting your soul. These are all things that you are in charge of. And you get to make the decision when you stop and take a breath, take a beat. Because sometimes we need that. Sometimes everything becomes overwhelming. If you're like me and you have a dinged up mental health, sometimes you learn in a very, hard way that you have anxiety that pops up from time to time. I have to tell you, I don't get it that often, but when I do, it's like, holy crap. You'd think I'd be used to dealing with it by now, but that's when I knew that it was okay to stop. When I started feeling agitated, when I started feeling overwhelmed. And you don't have to have a dinged up mental health to feel these things. I'll quote it, normal. I put that in air quotes because I mean, really, who's ever really normal? But people who don't have a dig at mental health, you can still have this mental, overstimulation that can happen. And again, it's okay to stop and take a breath. Just sit down for a moment. And it doesn't matter if your moment is just a moment or if it's a few days, a few weeks, a few months. Try not to let it go to a few weeks to a few months, because sometimes that can really kind of halt the healing. But that also might be your journey. I have been on a very, very, very long journey, and I've kind of shamed myself over that. But I realized everything I learned on that journey, I am able to share now with everybody else. Good morning, baby sibling. Good morning, older sibling. That's so funny. She just literally covered her face like, whoops. She knows when I'm going to do my show. So you'd think she'd be better prepared. I don't really care. I'm not worried about it. At least you all know she exists. Now, and in the earlier days of the Aloha perspective, when it was called the Daily Vibe, you could see, I actually had baby sibling on, so she exists too. So see, they're real. But anyways, so that's the maturity card. And those are the lessons that we learned. Remember, you can look at events in our life as either being an obstacle or a lesson. That's your choice. Sometimes you may look at them as an obstacle and realize, oh, that's a lesson. So when it comes to that, do your darndest to really kind of look at it as a lesson. It's not always easy, okay? It can be very hard because lessons sometimes do feel like obstacles. They feel like those big, big walls with the ropes hanging down, right? That you have to try to climb over. And you may feel like, crap, I can't get over. But then you may have people that come along and say, hey, do you need some help? And they'll boost you and they'll help you. And it's okay to ask for help. It's okay to get help. That's why we have people around us that care about us, because they only want what's best for us, right? Just like if you were able to get up that wall and you saw someone struggling, you would put your hand down and help them up, because that's what we do. We support one another. All right. So let's get to lesson number 18 of self-love. Put my pen away. Lesson number 18 of self-love. Oops. Sorry. I have my London pen today. Let's see. What's one change you can make to increase your happiness, and why? What's one change you can make to increase your happiness, and why? Hell if I know. I've been on this journey so long that I kind of feel like that's the one big change that I did for my life to increase my happiness. But I guess I am a class A worrier. And I'm really trying not to be that person anymore. I have a great card in here that says, and it's a reminder. I have a bunch of little things that I do every morning, but this one says, where focus goes, energy flows. This is why we must always focus on what we wish to see instead of worrying about what we don't want to see. Now, I can also be the post-it queen, because I tell you, I have things all around my desk and just reminding me, because sometimes my brain likes to slip and go into the negative. It likes to go into this little protective cave, right? Like a little troll, and hang out in there far away from anything that it thinks can hurt it. And that's how my brain works sometimes. And I'm trying not to be that person anymore. I'm trying to trust my path, to trust in what's around me and not be afraid of every little thing. I'm not afraid of every little thing, but I guess what I'm trying to say is that, when you spend so much time worrying, you tend to just kind of overwhelm yourself to the point where you feel like you're stuck and backed into a corner. So, it can be a little difficult. Sorry. I don't know if you can hear the water. I don't know how strong this mic is, but older sibling's washing her face. But, with the door open. You know what? Vacation perspectives are what they are. You deal with it as it comes along, and it's fine. It's not a big deal. It's just kind of funny to me. But so again, where focus goes, energy flows. This is why we must always, I underlined that, must always focus on what we wish to see instead of worrying about what we don't want to see. I think doing that for me is one way to increase my happiness. Stop, and also just going with the flow. Going with the flow is a huge way to increase your happiness because you're not trying to control everything, right? If you're anything like the old me used to be, and I say the old me because I'm really trying not to be that control freak anymore. When you let go of control and you just go with the flow, it makes things a lot. Didn't work. We could still see you. Anyways, it makes things a lot less tense, right? Because if something doesn't work out, sometimes people lose their shit. Like, well, wasn't how it's supposed to be. This is blah, blah, blah. Right now I'm playing a game, and there's a game inside of my game. And it's, it's a little puzzle thing, and it's actually based on another app where, one of those makeover apps. I don't know. It's just, it's a game inside of my little town game. Like I'm build my little farm in my town. I know. But what's interesting about it is that the girl who is the primary focus of this game inside this game is just she's supposed to be getting married, and she wanted everything to be perfect, and then a hurricane blew through, ruined everything, her dress, her hair. Someone forgot her groom, or her groom-to-be forgot the keys, forgot to pick up the rings. And this whole time, this group that's trying to help her, trying to tell her, you don't have to be a perfectionist. Everything will work out just fine. But everyone else seems to be okay with the fact that everything is fixable, except for her. But slowly, as the game progresses, you start to see her change and say, you know what, you're right, you're right, you're right. And it's kind of a weird example to use, but it's a very accurate one, because sometimes we shoot for this perfectionism that doesn't exist. And that's my perspective. That's my opinion, because some people think perfectionism exists. For me, I truly don't believe it does, because once a person reaches that state of perfection, they're looking for something else to find perfect, because they can't just be happy with where they're at. They can't just be happy in that moment. They have to control everything. And suddenly when there's nothing to control, they're looking for something else to control, because that's how I used to be. I wouldn't say I was the best at being a perfectionist, but I just felt everything always had to be just right. And it would literally just overwhelm me, just pique my anxiety. And, I always sat there and said that I don't have anxiety, but maybe I have had it, and I just never realized I had it because it was so mixed in with everything else that I would deal with when it came up to my brain. So I don't know, maybe that's a new discovery, but it would overwhelm me, and either one or two things would happen, or at the same time they would happen. I would either cry, or I'd get furious because it wasn't turning out right. And usually it was anger at myself, but it ended up lashing out at everybody else. Because it's like, it was just, people would be trying to help. It's like, stop, you just don't understand. Because in my mind, I wanted everybody to be happy. I wanted everything to be perfect. And when it didn't happen that way, it would overwhelm me. I'd feel like a failure. And in that, I guess it would pique my anxiety and it piqued my anger. And as I've grown to learn, going with the flow is so much easier. It is harder because it's not something I'm used to. But I realize, and I do try to catch myself in the moment when I feel that kind of pressure rising, saying, it's going to be okay. It's going to work out the way it's supposed to work out. So I'm not sure what the rest of that comment was supposed to be, baby sibling, but she says anxiety can show up in many ways. And she talked about my nephew, and it's public, okay? So that's why I'm just putting that out there. But it really does. And I think when I was a kid, mental health was still Her fingers burped. So anyways, when I was growing up, mental health was still very, very stigmatized. I mean, it's still stigmatized now, but you can imagine what it was like just even 20 or 30 years ago. And people didn't talk about it. Everybody either, it always felt like everybody either associated mental health with institutions or suicide. There was no in between, no, hey, do you need help? And so people just didn't want other people to know. They didn't want to talk about it because, they didn't want to feel like someone was going to treat them like they were going to kill themselves or like somebody was going to throw them into an institution, and I'm not trying to be blasé in the way I put that. But it's the truth. That's how it felt. That's how stigmatized it felt, how ugly it felt. And I didn't know anything about mental health issues when I was younger. And I think because of the trauma I went through and the fact that I never told a soul, not even my parents, I kept it to myself, tried to handle it, that I guess I probably have had anxiety all my life. This is a huge reveal for me, guys, because I guess we never want to think there's more wrong with us. We don't want to feel more broken and damaged than we already do. But that's one of the reasons I do these perspectives, because even if you have that type of neurosis that comes along with mental health issues, it doesn't make you a bad person. It truly does not make you a bad person. It shows the world that you really are a warrior, because it takes a lot to get through the day sometimes, especially if you're having a brain flare-up. Okay, I'll call it a brain flare-up. If you are going through a dinged up mental health episode, it is not easy. Baby sibling just said that, anxiety can show up in many ways, and she finished it off with saying that she had no idea he had it. And she didn't, because it really does come out in different ways. It can come out in obsessive compulsive behavior. It can come out with just people just shutting down and going quiet because they get so overwhelmed. It's like, just putting too much pressure on something that, like a machine, that it just shuts down until it knows how to get better. And that's kind of what I did. I was like a troll in a cave. I just withdrew. And some people thought that it was because, I was being rude. Other people would just make fun of me because it was like, oh, well, she's a nerd and blah, blah, blah. Back then nerds were not cool. And there's just a lot of things and ways that people can stigmatize you. I mean, I got bullied a lot in school. Not so much in high school. High school was much better. I mean, your typical teenagers, right? Being rude to each other. But I had a very good support system in the last 3 years of high school and first year. Is where I met my bestie. And, it's taken me a long time to learn that mental health is no joke. It's no joke. And if you don't understand it, don't stigmatize the person that's opening up to you. Just listen. If you ask them, is there anything I can do for you? And they say no, just say, then, you know what, I'm here for you. I don't understand it, but I'm here for you. If you don't understand it, you can look it up. But I'll tell you, there's a lot of textbooks and there's a lot of books out there that will try to explain mental health. But in my experience, there could be a person that has the same diagnosis as me. I have what they call MDD, which is major depressive disorder. And no two people are alike. Mine has actually gotten better. I had hoped I could be one of those people that goes into remission, because apparently depression can go into remission, but I'm not sure I ever will be. And if I do, maybe one day I'll figure it out. I may not even notice it for a while. But the point is that sometimes there really is, there's a textbook explanation, and then there's getting to know the person that that has it, and trying to understand what their quirks and their way of dealing with it is. And if you do have mental health issues, or you feel like you might, there's no shame in reaching out and talking to people about it. There really isn't. I mean, one of the main reasons I started this whole thing, from the Daily Vibe to the Aloha perspective, is because I really want to destigmatize mental health. That's why in the last set of things that we did, it was gratitude. This is self-love. In between whatever I do now and the next whatever, female musicians back in the way back days. Okay. So that's a little preview for that, and that'll be a little bit of fun. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, when we talk about today's self-love lesson, what's one change you can make to increase your happiness? I guess what's one change you can, okay, I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do, because when we first started this, I had no clue what I wanted to say, what I could do to increase my happiness. What's one change you can make to increase your happiness? Love yourself. Simply put, love yourself. There are enough people in this world that will find ways to put us down. And it's not meant to be mean. It's not meant to be a realistic comment. It's just meant to be one of those things where it's just how people are. Some people are so insecure with themselves, they try to take other people down. Some people are so unhappy in their lives that they want other people to be unhappy in their lives. And when we start to love ourselves, we start to see where that behavior is coming from. Some people are just mean and are just assholes and just, sociopathic narcissists. And that's not your problem either. One of my favorite sayings is, what other people think of me is none of my business. And that's the truth. What other people think of me is none of my business. Half the time when we think people are staring at us for whatever reason we think they're staring at us, it could be nothing more than maybe they like your hair, maybe they like your glasses, maybe they like the outfit you're wearing. But when we're insecure, the first thing we think of is, what are they finding wrong about me? And I used to be that way. Sometimes I still have that problem. But it's not as bad as it used to be. And it is so much better. So much better than it used to be. And it's because I'm also doing these self-love lessons with you guys. I did the gratitude lessons with you guys. And I'm learning. I am truly, truly grasping these lessons this time. When I did it the first 2 times, I think the seeds were planted. But this time I added to the question, why? And the why was, I think, mostly for me in the beginning. But I think I also wanted to put the why at the end to make everybody who's doing this, that might journal through this, to think about it. Why is that your answer? Because sometimes I think we give a surface answer. Like with what is, like, Monday's lesson? What is the most loving thing you've ever done for yourself? Somebody might say, I had my first massage. And that's great. And that's good. And maybe that is the most wonderful thing you've ever done for yourself. Or maybe you indulged yourself and bought yourself something. Or, maybe you went to therapy for the first time. I don't know if you needed therapy. Not everybody needs therapy. But if you needed therapy, maybe you felt like that was the most loving thing that you ever done for yourself. I will tell you, that should have been my answer on Monday, because I think that was truly the most loving thing I ever done for myself, because that really ramped up my journey. But I added why to that, because why was the massage the most loving thing you ever done for yourself? Is it because you finally put yourself first? And you actually put your needs first ahead of everybody else's for once? That's why I asked the why. Not just because, I had my first massage ever. But what prompted that? Was it because you wanted to give yourself something because you knew you deserved it? Because when we have those feelings where we say, you know what, I deserve this, don't feel bad about it. If you want to pamper yourself or you want to indulge yourself, don't guilt yourself. Don't shame yourself. Don't give yourself this magical day and then at the end of it say, well, maybe I shouldn't have done that. Because that's where we fall apart. That's where self-love needs to come in. You need to go home at the end of that fabulous day and say, you know what? Today was a good day. Today was a good day, and I'm glad I did this for myself. And so for me, what's one change you can make to increase your happiness? For me, and hopefully for everybody else, that'll be one of your answers. Embrace your self-love. Remember, self-love is a desired characteristic, not a narcissistic characteristic. Okay? Self-love is a desired characteristic. It is something we want for ourselves. It is something that we want to show the world that we respect ourselves. You know, I can name 2 people off the top of my head who are really trying to instill these things in their own children, and that's Baby Sibling and Baby Bear. You know, I know my nicknames for everybody, but I see them do that, and I've also seen them struggle with their own. And I know that one of the reasons they try to implement these traits into their children is because they've struggled with it themselves. They've struggled with these feelings that they've had, and they don't want their children to feel that. They want their children to know, hey, you know what? You do deserve a great amount of self-love. And it's one of the most beautiful things we can teach each other. And, you know, it's also something that we can do to help people embrace themselves. See, a lot of people will sit there and say that self-love is narcissistic. It's not. It's not. It depends on who you are. There's self-love where everything is about you. And then there's, you know, this is my opinion, okay? This is my perspective. There is a version of self-love that everything's about you. Nobody else matters. That's the narcissistic kind of self-love. And that's not the kind of self-love we're talking about. That's just love of self. To me, self-love is loving yourself enough that you can shine this like a little Care Bear, right? Just shine your love out to everybody, and everybody around you feels it. Everybody around you, you know, is enveloped in your warmth because you're exuding all this self-love. You're exuding all this love and this compassion and empathy because you do care about other people. Self-love isn't just for us. It's about the people around us that we love, that we want to share ourselves with, that we want to be there for. And I really feel, I'm just going to say it, I did really feel like that was a message from Archangel Gabriel, because I just felt like I was kind of inside and outside, in and outside of myself right now. But he is a messenger angel. And remember, angels are non-denominational, so you do not have to be religious for them to be real in your life. But you don't even have to believe in religion for them to be real in your life. But that's my perspective. I'm not forcing anybody on anybody. I'm just saying that I feel like that's a very deep message. That the more we love ourselves, it's all about filling that cup, right? We can't give or serve from an empty cup, because it just wears us down. It can send us spiraling. It can send us into the depths of darkness that we thought we came out of. People pleasing is one of the worst things. You know what? I am a recovering people pleaser, and I hate it. I hate people pleasing, because what it does, and I know that's a very strong way to put it, and it's probably not fair to a lot of people, because a lot of people are people pleasers and don't realize it, but they're looking for their happiness in other people. So Sibling's talking about altruism, but I think people misunderstand what altruism's about. We always want to make other people happy, but you cannot make other people happy at your expense. Altruism is meant to be of service with a full cup. People pleasing might seem like it's altruism, but it's not. People pleasing is serving from an empty cup. Altruism is saying, hey, I got a lot and I want to give you more because I want to see you happy. And I think everybody has a bit of altruism in them. Everybody wants to see the people around them happy, but that shouldn't be at your expense. You should not be trying to make other people happy because you feel empty inside. You should not be trying to make other people feel happy or feel great about themselves because you hate yourself. And it makes you feel better to see other people happy. You have to love yourself. The best form of altruism is giving and serving from a full cup. Not using other people's happiness to fill your cup only. I mean, it doesn't hurt to have it fill your cup, but you have to do things for yourself. You have to choose something that makes you happy, that fills you up, so that when you leave that moment of making somebody else happy, you are still in a good place. You are still in a happy mood. Because that's really what a lot of it is about. So, I'm sure we could probably go on and on about altruism. In fact, maybe next week on Self-Care Wednesday, we'll dive a little deeper into that, because I think that would be actually a really good self-care subject. But just remember, there's altruism and then there's people pleasing, and you have to decide which one fits you the best. And if it's people pleasing, then there's work to do. Because like I said, people pleasing is serving from an empty cup, trying to fill your cup up because you feel maybe there's just nothing in your life. When we have self-love, it opens our heart, it opens our soul. Even if we're alone, even if we're in a crowded room and we feel alone, when we have self-love, it reminds us, it keeps us from hitting bottom, hard. It's like that little rubber mat, right? When you fall off the monkey bars and bam, you have that mat. It might hurt a little, but it helps you bounce back. It helps you bounce back and reminds you, hey, dig in to your self-love. Okay? So, good morning, Catherine. You're welcome. Thank you. Thank you for thank you for coming on. So anyways, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Please take care of yourselves. Okay? Remind yourself, I am lovable. Just say that every time you pass a mirror, I am lovable. If you're at work and you're going to the restroom, I am lovable. You don't have to say it out loud. You can if you want, or you can just say it in your head. I am lovable. Every time you pass your reflection, say that, I love you. And if you want to add your name, I love you, whoever you are. Whoever you are. So anyways, again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. I am still debating on Oracle Friday tomorrow, only because I have very few decks with me since I'm traveling. But I might come on for a short one, okay? So yeah, you know what? I'm deciding now. I will come on for a very, very short one tomorrow and just use the cards that we have. It won't be a super long one like they usually are. But I will be back here, well, not here. I'll be back with my normal background on Monday for self-love lesson number 19. So if you want to join me tomorrow, or you prefer to wait till Monday, 8:30 a.m. Pacific Daylight Time, Facebook Live. It is public. Anybody can watch under Shelley Marie Lucas. Or you can catch the replay on YouTube under the Aloha Perspective with Shelley Marie Lucas. Or I have a Facebook page that you can go like as well. You can like both of them if you want. The Aloha Perspective. So again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you all so much for watching. I'm Catherine. I hope you have a wonderful, wonderful day. And thank you. She's so sweet. She's giving me compliments. I have to tell you, one of the things I do miss about being in my old job is Catherine. I don't think anything. I mean, I'm sure things piss her off. We've had moments where we would just sit down and chitty chat and we'd vent to each other. But this is a person who finds the light in even the darkest of caves. And in many ways, it's something that I aspire to find the lesson instead of creating everything like an obstacle. So Catherine, I thank you for that, because you are truly one of the people I miss a lot. So we should get together soon. So anyways, and she gives great mom hugs. Great mom hugs. So anyways, I know I love hugs. I love to hug people and I love hugs, but she gives great mommy hugs. So again, I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day. Thank you so much for popping on. Thank you again, Catherine, for being you. And I hope everybody has a wonderful, wonderful day.